Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sophie and this has been a good yarn. This is episode 2 of a series that I'm doing, kind of a Vlogmas series, where I'm inviting you to join me on a challenge of knitting my Christmas jumper in like 35 days is pretty much what I started with. We're on day 6 today, so this is the start of the second piece. And the jumper that I'm knitting is the Northern Augustins. I think it's number 9. It's the new pattern. And let's just pop my stitch stoppers on. I thought I'd just show you at the beginning of this video where we got to in the first 5 days. So we're still on the yoke. Let me try and lift it up a little bit more. And we have just finished, literally just finished, the bow, which is the second sort of big motif, I guess, on the yoke. So I think we've done okay. The collar was double folded. It was 16 centimeters of ribbing, 1 by 1 ribbing on size 3 needles, so that did take a minute or two. And I am nearly through chart 1, which maps out the yoke increases and work before we go ahead and split for sleeves. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more rows which are different, and then we repeat the last row until a certain length. I'm not going to measure until I've got through the last bit of this pattern here. You might notice that there is some like visible increases there. I'm really hoping that that will block out, as well as that this will block out gently and nicely. I think all my floats look okay. So fingers crossed this will look all right once it's blocked. I am knitting on this solely. I am only knitting on my other 2 projects, one of which is the weekend hat, so it's knit one purl one, and the other of which is a sock, which is like semi-based on the petite knit ruffle sock, which is a 3 by 1 rib and stockinette on the foot. So I've only got like 2 really simple projects that are more portable than this one, and they are being knitted like if I'm on the phone to someone and I can't do colour work, but I could do something, if I'm waiting in line somewhere out and about, and when I am well enough to be back into the office, they will be the ones I take to the office. But otherwise, I'm solely focused on this whip. We're putting in as many hours as I have in each day of free time into trying to get this jumper knitted. I am feeling quite hopeful from progress within day 1 through 5, but I'm also aware that like the collar was starting with fewer stitches, and the body has a lot of colour work. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to the video. It's going to be vlog style. We are going to have lots of different clips, and please be aware that I have a small child. I have an 18-month-old, and I also work, so most of my filming is done in the evening, not with this kind of natural light that I know looks a lot more professional and it's more fun to watch, but it is with light in the evening because that's the time I have realistically. And I hope even if the production value is a bit lower, like maybe that's relatable for some of you. I know that when I watch creators in similar circumstances, it certainly feels relatable to me. So yeah, thank you for joining along, and let's see how I do in the next 5 days. I have high hopes. So I have been staring and staring at this, right? And here, these bows, I'm like, this doesn't look right. And I just went to double check that my colour dominance was right. And I've messed it up. The red should have been held in my left hand and the white in my left, sorry, this one in my right. I'm so bad with left and right. This is probably exactly what happened when I looked it up. So my white is my dominant colour, and I can't lie, I'm kind of upset about it. But I think if I swap dominant colours, it's going to be really obvious. So I'm a little bit stuck about what to do. I don't think I can frog back. I can frog back. I don't think I have it in me to frog back and also finish this project. This is the problem when you do things quickly, right? If there is no time limit to this, I probably would frog. But that is a substantial amount of knitting that I've done before I have like become so paranoid about this that I'm like, some of these stitches are vanishing, like what's happening? And it is the colour dominance. I think looking at the piece from far away, you can still see what's going on. So part of me is like, do I get through this section of like the striping repeats, which I think look a lot clearer, probably because there's no like floats and stuff that's also then messing up the tension. And then do I swap colour dominance and potentially duplicate stitch? The bows are the ones I'm worried about. If I'm really honest, I think the other stuff looks okay. I think it's the bows. That is a lot of additional work, and I am a bit worried about what will happen if changing the colour dominance like really messes up the jumper. I honestly don't know what to do. I think the right thing to do is to carry on with the section I'm on at least, because the options are frog the jumper and don't finish it for this year. And I genuinely don't think that if I frogged all of this, I would have the fortitude to keep going with it this year, and I really want to. Or finish up the section that I'm on and potentially commit to some heavy duplicate stitching above these lines. I think, if I'm being honest with myself, the bows bother me, right? And I think if I was going to frog the bows, I'd have to just frog the lot. There's no point going back that far and not losing. And like, it's so much knitting. I think my answer is I'm going to knit until the end of these repeats, which I think is 3 more rounds. Then I think I'm going to try and swap colour dominance once we go to like the next section. And then if I need to duplicate stitch, I think I can just duplicate stitch the bows. I think that's the right call. And if it looks shit, at least then I can undo one row rather than frogging the whole thing. Because I think I'd rather have a sweater that looked okay, even if it's like the colour dominance is the wrong way around, than I would have something look really messy. So I think that's my answer. I think I'm going to carry on and I'll update you guys. I'm just feeling a bit bummed right now. It's like 10 o'clock at night as well, and I just was so like obsessing about this and trying not to get in my head about it. My husband's like, it looks great, like please don't stress it. But it does bother me and I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that I got it wrong. Talk to you soon. I just thought I'd try this on one last time. We're about to split for sleeves, and I think I'm getting over myself a little bit. I think you can still tell they look like bows. I think it's going to be okay. I've got one more round to split for the sleeves that I'm going to do before I go to bed tonight, because I think that will feel like a satisfying end to day 6. So I decided I have to frog this. Frog all of the colour work, which is mental and really frustrating. And some of you are probably like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing that. But I knitted 2 rows of colour work with the colour dominance correct. And it was going to bother me a lot that it wasn't right. It was going to bother me a lot. And this jumper is a special jumper. It's the most I've ever spent on a jumper's quantity of yarn. It was nearly £200, 200 British pounds worth of wool. And I want this to be an heirloom piece. I want this to be something that I'm proud to wear when I'm in my 60s. And I remember this as something that I made when my children were young. And as much as I want to finish this for this Christmas, those things mattered more. That this was an investment in a jumper that I want to have for years. That I was thinking about how I would feel wearing this, knowing I made an error and didn't correct it if I was 60. And would I care that I made it for this Christmas more than I cared about having a mistake? And I decided that I actually cared more about this being right in the long term. My granddad, who sadly passed away this year actually, used to say, will it bother you in 10 minutes? Will it bother you in 10 days? Will it bother you in 10 years? And basically, you pay more attention to the things that bother you for longer. And if the idea of this error being there in this jumper bothers me when I think about being 60, it is worth the 2 days to frog it now. As much as that hurts, and believe me, this does, this is a lot of work. This is hours and hours and evenings and all my spare time. But it's the right decision. And it's the right decision because I can do better. And I'm thinking about the longer term, not the right now. And it's the right decision for the long term. It's the right decision for this being the piece that I want it to be. And you know what? I don't think I will ever mix up colour dominance again. I was thinking about that when I first started knitting the colour work, I thought, it's really weird. I'm holding it the way it's suggested. And it almost looks like mine's the other way around. And I did that thing where I trusted what I'd looked up more than I trusted my eyes. I don't know if you can relate to that. And I should have trusted my eyes. I should have said, that doesn't look right, and checked. But I was kind of in that space where I was like, I'm a beginner. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Like with colour work, I mean. And I will trust the process almost. And I shouldn't have done that because my eyes were right. And if I had double checked then, I could have easily frogged back just a couple rows and corrected it. So it's a lesson to trust myself as well, I guess. But yeah, I just thought we'd chat whilst I frog. I had a hard day today actually, not sickness-wise, just my little boy is, I think, starting his toddlerhood. He's only 18 months old, so we'll see how much worse it gets. But we're in a phase where he just wants to throw food at every meal time, and it's really hard actually at the moment. It means that I'm having to normally do prepare food for him for one meal, like 3 or 4 times, because you'll present him with whatever meal there is, and his immediate response is to cry and to throw it everywhere. And then he'll be frustrated because he wants to eat his food, and obviously it's all gone on the floor, all the walls, all the curtains, everything. And you have to then give him more food. And I've kind of been learning to make double portions and stuff, but it means that meals are taking a long time at the moment, probably an hour to get through each meal, the prep, all of the different preps, because he sometimes has to get down midway through if it's a longer prep. And then the cleanup afterwards obviously takes a long time, because he is getting stuff everywhere. I'm having to clean the carpets. He sits with a mat underneath him, but he is just throwing it as far as he can, so it gets on the carpets. I'm having to clean the walls. So that's just what we're going through at the minute. And I'm on a solo care day today. It's my day to have Wit, and Tom's at work all day, and Tom's at work essentially for Wit care for a long day. So he left before Wit got up for his breakfast, and he'll be back by the time Wit is bathed and in bed. So it means that I need to do absolutely everything today. And I've just got to be honest, I love my little boy to death, but he has been really annoying today. We just had tears all day pretty much. And I've worked really hard today to try and give him a nice day. And I'm trying to remind myself that sometimes that's what really good parenting looks like. That it's trying to give your child a really nice day, even on the days where they're just having a hard day. And where he's not going to feel okay, but I'm not getting frustrated with him. I'm not, giving up or shouting or anything. I'm just being me, being calm and being his mummy, taking care of him, even if I feel frustrated. And I think in some ways, like, you could argue, like, why is that a day you would decide to frog hours worth of work? Like, I understand that viewpoint. Whereas I think in some ways this feels quite cathartic, because this is a frustration, but it's one that I'm choosing. You can see now, like, I'm having to not just frog, but also like unweave all the catching of my floats. And I think in some ways that's quite useful for me today, is like, yes, this is also really annoying, but I didn't have to do this. You know, there's no consequence to not doing this apart from like my own satisfaction, and kind of feels good to just pull something out. Like, I don't know, to feel frustrated and to get to be frustrated at the thing, rather than like, I try really hard to be a compassionate mum and to be an empathetic mum and to see the world through my son's eyes. Sometimes it's just nice to break stuff. Like, yeah, and I think that's okay. I'm doing therapy at the minute. A lot of my therapy work is self-compassion. And I think it's okay to say that sometimes you just break stuff. You just want to pull stuff out. And do you know what? The other thing that I've been thinking about this project is, I actually thought it earlier, before I even realised last night that I'd made this error. I thought, if I started this colourwork yoke again, I could do this so much better. And I think that often happens with knitting, doesn't it? It's like, by the time you get into the flow of something, or like by the time you're halfway through a project, you could probably do the skill to a better standard than you could do at the beginning. And in a way, it's quite nice to be able to frog this and be like, okay, now let's see how well I can do this. So yeah, I think I'm trying to deal with this well. I think it would be easy to cry or stamp my feet or ignore it. And I think, if I'm honest, last night that was what I was trying to do, by like just getting through the bit, trying to swap the colour dominants, seeing what was going to happen. And the idea of sitting and duplicate stitching all of this yoke and it not being right still this morning, I think just gave me the answer I needed. So yeah, I'm going to shut up now because I have a lot of frogging to do. But I will fast forward this. Actually, no, I'll just show you when we're back on the needles. Hello, it's day 8. Unfortunately, cold number 1 has turned into cold number 2. And apologies, this one has affected my foot a bit more, so I'm going to do my best to talk through it. But yeah, that's why I'm a little bit croaky. Just wanted to show you, I've started reworking the colourwork and I am so much happier with how that's looking. I think it was definitely the right call. So yeah, obviously I lost progress all the way back up to here. And it took me 2 hours to fully frog and sort out my yarn from frogging it. So yeah, 2 hours worth of work to rip it out, and then I've just knitted that back yesterday. I'm just sitting down at 6:30 now to start working on some of this tonight, and hopefully I'll get an okay amount through. I'm glad that I'm restarting the bow. That was the bit that I was really most unhappy with, of how it looked, so I'm excited to see how that turns out on round 2. Hello, it is day 8 and I've been poorly again. Unfortunately, the cold I've had, I seem to have backed 2 onto one another, 2 colds, and it's exacerbated my hyperemesis. So I had ended up having to leave work a bit early yesterday and had to rest yesterday evening. Tom had to do a lot. And then today I was supposed to be doing my phase return for a few hours in the morning and I just wasn't well enough. It's 3:15 and I've been resting a lot today. And I am feeling a lot better, feeling a lot less sick. I think I've drunk a lot of water today and I think that the dehydration was adding to it. But I still feel really poorly with like snotty cold stuff. I was actually almost convinced it was COVID, but the COVID test was negative. And I thought I'd just show you where we're at. Okay, so obviously I decided to frog the colour work, and I'm so happy with my decision. So this is with the colour dominance now correct, and I've just finished row 61 of the chart, which is like the chart A repeat, chart 1 repeat. And then I just have to continue on with this 1 stitch white, 1 stitch red for a few more rows until I hit the correct length. So I'm not quite back to where I was, but I nearly am. I think maybe by tonight or the end of tomorrow night, I may then re-split the sleeves. So I have lost a lot of time. I've essentially lost a week, like 6 days probably, to having to do this, but I am really, really pleased that I've done it. It was definitely the right call. It was hard. I'm glad I stopped when I did and didn't try and carry on. But yeah, I'm not going to talk too much just because I am still feeling really under the weather. I have about an hour and a half until I need to go and pick up Wit, and then we'll have 2 hours or so with him in the evening tonight. Yeah, so I'm just going to carry on. I'm going to knit. I might have another bit of sleep for an hour or so. Yeah, I'll update you a little bit later. Hello, lovely people. It's day 10. I know I haven't spoken to you in a few days. I've been really ill. Partly with hyperemesis symptoms, but mostly with this rotten cold that has just exacerbated stuff. I wanted to show you where we're at. So, there we go. We finally made it beyond the point that I was at when I showed you before. Here's our split for sleeves just there. And we're getting into the main body patterning, which is really exciting. It finally feels like I'm starting to get somewhere again. I'll try and hold it up. Let's hold it up for you as a jumper. My cable is a bit short, so it does roll, but we are sort of at boob level, under boob. We've reached under boob, so we're into the kind of flat bit of knitting now, which is, yeah, really exciting. I did some maths the other night, because if I'm honest, I couldn't knit any more of it. I'd been really like putting the time in on it since I had to frog it, because I was just worried about the impact of that and all of those things. So put some proper time in on it, and I couldn't do anymore. So anyway, I did some maths and figured out how much I need to do per day to finish on time. So actually to finish, I'm going to try and do colour work chart whilst I speak to you. I might have to stop. But yeah, so to finish on time, and the maths worked its way out that it is possible. So it wasn't just like I looked up and it was like, no, not a chance that you can't do this, which was helpful. Like if I'm honest, I wasn't completely sure that would be the case. I was a bit worried that it might have been completely impossible. The thing that I'm actually worried about is I calculated, so it sounds a bit mad, but I calculated every stitch that I'll have to knit to finish the jumper in my size, which wasn't actually too hard, and then split the stitches by day. And I think it's a lot. It's clearly a lot of knitting, but it's possible. The problem, I think, is going to be the ribbing, because the ribbing is in smaller needles, and the ribbing did take me a fair old whack around the collar. I think I remember that taking at least a couple of days, maybe even 3 days to get that sorted. So I'm kind of aware of that, but I think the ribbing may be the problem. The other thing I think takes a lot of time that is not part of the stitching is doing an Italian bind off. I tend to think that that takes a fair amount of time, and I haven't been able to really like put that into the calculations that I've done in terms of the stitches. So that's how I'm feeling at the minute. It is possible to do the knitting in time, I think, on the basis of how fast I've been knitting so far, how much knitting time I can get when I'm completely dedicated to this project. The issue, I think, is whether or not the ribbing will slow me down substantially, and therefore it won't be possible to do sort of the stockinette portions, if that makes sense. And sorry, 1 second. And yes, whether the smaller gauge, etc., will mean that it is I'm going to have to pause for a minute, which might mean that it is impossible to the bind off. So I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. I am a little bit ahead at the moment than where I need to be to like finish on Christmas Eve because of that. And I'm trying to like not like really rush. I don't think that I benefit from that, but I'm trying to keep myself aware of like how many rows I need to do each day. And trying to, so like I want to do at least one more today because that means I've hit my amount I need to do each day. But yeah, I will just do one more little clip at the end of this evening to show you kind of where we get down to. But I'm happy so far. I think it looks lovely. I'm so glad I frogged it all back. I think the colour work looks so much better. I also think my floats look a lot better. They look okay, right? My first colour work garment, at the beginning less so, but as we get there it gets better. And I'm really enjoying knitting it, which is an important thing to say because I feel like I'm rushing an awful lot in some ways. Like I've had to rush because of the frogging and stuff, and it might look like I'm not having fun, but I am having a lot of fun knitting this and just playing. My continental knitting has got loads better, having knitted continental each day for such a long period of time, which I haven't done before. And yeah, I'm really excited to have this jumper in my wardrobe, whether it makes it for Christmas Day or not. So yeah, I will show you just a little final clip before we close off this video, but thank you so much for watching this edition. I hope you'll continue to follow me along on my Vlogmas knitting this jumper, and yeah, please do leave me any positive thoughts or encouragement in the comments. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.